But as I sit here and I think about what we say and what I'm hearing as it relates to diversity when it comes to anything outside of making money, and to be clear, we are losing GDP every time we try to push back on this idea of diversity, because all of us bring something different to the table. But you consistently said over and over the word oppression, and every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seems like you don't understand the definition of oppression, and I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. That is the definition of oppression. And so as I sit here as a Black woman who practiced civil rights, let me tell you, the reason that my colleagues wanted to make sure you understood the same Black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white.
This is just the final piece of a decades-long obsession with targeting and dismantling anything that might give marginalized people a fair shot, including DEI programs, which honestly started the second the Civil Rights Act passed. Policies like affirmative action and diversity, equity, inclusion are the closest things we've had to the mythical bootstraps that some of my colleagues insist historically and currently harmed communities need to pick themselves up by.
Hey fam, Gracie here once again. Welcome back to the channel. I am hoping that from wherever you, my lovelies, are watching this from, you're doing alright and God has protected you and preserved you very well. If you continuously give support to me on here, that really means a lot to me. So thank you so very much for your support, and to the members that exclusively support through the member packs or the membership program. Thank you so very much, as always, for being part of the growth of this channel. Guess what? We are literally about to hit 10,000K, right? And I cannot wait. So if you want to join in through the member packs as well, we do have affordable packs that you can choose from and support. And you see us grow, isn't it? Thank you so very much. Forgive me, but as always, we do have an interesting episode that I want us to look at, especially for the melanated queens and kings that are coming from the United States of America. I do appreciate you guys, and that's the reason as to why I have to bring these episodes, because I know that it probably will create awareness. We have an interesting lawyer and congresswoman here that literally, you know, put these palm-colored people in their place, because apparently they are trying to get rid of DEI, which is Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program. Now, we know that so many programs that are aiming at equipping or that are targeting at uplifting and giving better opportunities to marginalized communities, that includes, you know, melanated people, right? All of them, they want to scrap them off. And this sister comes out to ask, when was the palm-colored community ever oppressed in this country? She makes interesting points. Now, a lot of you know her as one of the ladies that spoke about the...
And on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What now?
But her name is Jasmine Crockett, but not just her, guys. I got some stitches from some, you know, crooked, you know, palm-colored people that came out with excuses, as always, to defend themselves and why they want to get rid of this. But I want us to watch her come in her full force, putting these people in their place.
Many of you know that I practice law, but some of you don't realize that I actually was a business major out of Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. And the emphasis that I got in my business degree was on finance. And as I traveled the country campaigning this election cycle, one of the things that I talked about was this idea that in finance, we always promote this idea of diversity. If you know anything about a portfolio, the one thing that you want to do is make sure that it's as diverse as possible, because at times certain stocks will perform better than others, and they will exemplify various strengths and weaknesses. And together, a diverse portfolio is usually what any good finance person would promote. They wouldn't promote that you solely invest in vanilla wafers, believing that that is is going to be the strongest portfolio, but instead they may want to add some chocolate cake and some Twinkies into the mix to make sure that we have the best portfolio, because there will be different preferences by different people. And again, there will be different strengths. But as I sit here and I think about what we say and what I'm hearing as it relates to diversity when it comes to anything outside of making money. And to be clear, we are losing GDP every time we try to push back on this idea of diversity, because all of us bring something different to the table. But you consistently said over and over the word oppression, and every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seems like you don't understand the definition of oppression. And I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. That is the definition of oppression. And so as I sit here as a Black woman who practiced civil rights, let me tell you, the reason that my colleagues wanted to make sure you understood the same Black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed. That's not the definition of oppression. You tell me the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment that you've had, and we can have a conversation.
You could start with Exodus.
The final thing that I will say on this particular issue, two things. There is an article from The Guardian, and it is a little old. It's from 2021, so I apologize. But it said that back then, just 3 years ago, white men represent 30% of the population, but 62% of office holders. These are the issues that we are constantly looking at and recognizing and trying to say, is this just? I can't even tell you how many white men have served in this chamber, but I can tell you that I am only the 55th Black woman to be elected to Congress. And so when you want to talk about history and pretend as if it was so long ago, it wasn't. Because again, I am just number 55. Finally, when we start to talk about what do these numbers do, as we're trying to say that diversity, equity, and inclusion is the problem, the reality is that when it comes to financial performance, companies with more diverse workforces are more likely to outperform their competitors. Companies in the top quartile for racial diversity are 35% more likely to outperform their peers on profitability. Companies with diverse executive teams are 25% more likely to generate greater profits. Diverse companies earn 2.5 times higher cash flow per employee. Diversity works. And until you can show me data that says otherwise, I think that we need to go back to being a country that listens to experts and gets out of our feelings and recognizes, again, that racism is real in this country. And until we stop pretending that it's not, we will not solve the problems that we are consistently facing. And that will bring real unity that we seek when we're looking for a more perfect union.
Not in favor of the Dismantle Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Act, or what it maybe would more aptly be called the dismantling any semblance of support or opportunity for certain American acts. And we know who those Americans are. Americans who have not enjoyed centuries of unfair advantages by keeping others enslaved or segregated or disenfranchised or incarcerated or redlined or gerrymandered or excluded by law. Americans who've lived with disabilities or had their relationships criminalized or their gender expression demonized. If we're being honest here, this bill, which will wipe out every diversity, equity, and inclusion program in our federal agencies, plus those those who contract with us, plus those who receive grant money, plus our schools, is nothing new. This is just the final piece of a decades-long obsession with targeting and dismantling anything that might give marginalized people a fair shot, including DEI programs, which honestly started the second the Civil Rights Act passed. Policies like affirmative action and diversity, equity, inclusion are the closest things we've had to the mythical bootstraps that some of my colleagues insist historically and currently harmed communities need to pick themselves up by. After centuries of efforts to keep us out of schools and universities, from jobs and elected office, Republicans targeting these policies are no accident. Why do predominantly conservative white men believe that the success of a black person or the opportunity or access of a black person is an existential threat to them? DEI is not given any unfair advantage that society itself does not already confer on certain Americans. It merely exists to ensure that all other people, that women, minoritized folks, queer folks, disabled folks, have the same opportunities to succeed and thrive in our workforce and our schools as people who have not had those opportunities systematically and legally stripped from them do. Is our country not greater when all of us have opportunities to succeed and contribute and survive? Our success and our survival as a nation is bound together. Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs only exist to band-aid over decades, hell, centuries of discrimination against people's skin color, their religion, disabilities, gender, or sexual orientations, you name it. Contrary to Republican conjecture, remedying past discrimination is not, in turn, a discrimination. And we're not going to sit here and pretend racism is over just because one black person on the Supreme Court agreed that it should be. What DEI does not do is give some kind of magical pass to better jobs, like some of our colleagues are implying. That middle word, equity, does not mean more than or better than. It means treating people fairly and impartially. It means working to fix generational and systemic discrimination to the betterment of all of us in all of our institutions. But instead, Republicans are trying to bastardize the term DEI to be a slur. When Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was up for confirmation and when Vice President Harris was added to the ticket, they called them DEI hires. They want you to believe that a Harvard graduate with over 20 years of experience, who happens to be a black woman, is not qualified, but a Fox News personality is qualified to run the Department of Defense, and the WWE executive is qualified to run the Department of Education. Let's be real. There is an attempt to create a direct correlation between our race, being a black person, and our qualifications. So much as to say that there is no way to be a black woman. There is no resume that a black person could have that would qualify them unless that black person is a Republican, and there is a quota there. And while all of this has happened at the top level of our government, I can promise you these same things are happening on every single level of government and private sector. But those people don't have a national platform to speak out against discriminatory treatment. Where is a federal worker supposed to turn when another coworker says a racist comment to them in the break room? Where is the same-sex couple who is denied housing supposed to, because of their relationship, supposed to turn? Where is a pregnant woman who was fired for being pregnant supposed to go? Often the only place that they have to give them recourse are the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. These folks just want to do their jobs, serving the American people in an environment that feels safe and supports them. Making work a better, safer environment for some does not mean it automatically is worse for others. And those complaining about DEI training are probably the ones who need it the most. My Republican colleagues have got to stop punching down on already marginalized communities and face their own fears of a level playing field privately. It's shameful. I yield back.
Misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been oppression for white man. My whole family's been oppressed. Slaves, poor, poverty, uneducated. Until everybody realizes that we're all slaves, it don't matter if you're black or white, if you're poor and working, we're all in this shit together. All right, they keep this dividing wedge with the races. You guys know that they didn't even start anything with the races until the 1800s. That's when they started dividing people by color, because it's always been about how rich or how poor you've been, always. Until the 1800s, and they switched it to the fucking skin color. Made up some bullshit ass stories. Go learn real history, all the history, not what you've learned in school. Go to Europe and read some books out of Europe. We have to stop the division. We have to come together. It's the rich people versus the poor people, and it's always been that way. The rich people control all of us with their money. You guys don't understand that. We don't need money, we need each other. We don't need governed, we need each other. Right? There's good men out here that will take care of the bad men. The bad men in this country are protected by the policemen and the court system, so they can put them in prison and use them for slave labor. When you get rid of pedophiles, they don't reoffend.
You can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for...
Oh, but she's black, so she can't be racist. Hypocrisy.
Man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes.
I'm pretty sure white Irish men were the first slaves. They were the first slaves, the white Irishmen. They were slaved off first. And then it was also black men, or black people, or black men, whatever, started slavery. They started slavery. They started selling their own people and us, white people, white Irish. I'm not Irish, I'm British, Northern Irish, whatever. Irish, north of Ireland, what the fuck ever. I'm going to get in so much hate for this fucking video, right? But anyway, Irish people were the first slaves. And it was black people that were selling them. It's like, I mean, everyone's did it. Like, fuck, I'm not trying to be racist and I'm going to get hate from this video, but you said what white people have ever been dragged off? Irishmen. Irishmen.
What kind of contradictions exist in black life?
The contradiction of thinking that your oppressor will participate in your liberation, and that your oppressor will dismantle his big international economic apparatus in order to bring social reform to you or anyone else. When he put up the apparatus with your labor and with your blood, and used your labor as the seed money to erect the structure of capitalism, the whole economic system, because he had your labor, them there 300 years free of charge.
The desire and urge to keep the melanated community under the feet and boots of palm-colored people every day grows stronger, even if they come out to deny. Their words say otherwise, and their actions are also saying otherwise. And if you are familiar with scriptures, the Bible says that we shall see them by the fruits they bear. And from what we are looking at, apparently the fruits they are bearing right now are really not good fruits. So we cannot say that they are good trees and they are capable of producing anything good, specifically to help the black community. I don't understand the logic behind why they come against each and every program that is tailored towards equipping and giving better opportunities where at least black people can make better money to put them in positions of control. I don't know why they come for those programs. And I think the first example is they got rid of affirmative action in the guise that this was castigating racial biases and that black people were not working hard enough to earn this. They were rather coming in the guise of race. But we all know who benefited from this program even more than the black community. Palm-colored women and Asian people. And when they realize that this is not benefiting them anymore, this is literally becoming for everybody, and they were not benefiting as much as they were, they got rid of it. Now D.E.I, which is literally seeking to promote the fair treatment, full participation of all people, particularly groups who have been historically underrepresented or subjected to discrimination on the basis of identity or disability. They want to get rid of that. And I do applaud the Congresswoman, Jasmine. She is as bold as a lioness. And I think that's the reason as to why they are afraid of black women. They are afraid of not only just black women, but every melanated person. If you put them in these spaces, if you leave these programs to keep going, then these people are going to over excel you. And you're the same people that were saying that these people are not performing. And I think it is proving, the point is proven. A lot of them are saying, you know what? No, there's no discrimination here. You guys stop relying on the past. We are here because of the past. The reason as to why these programs are invented and initiated is because of the past. Because there's a certain group of people that you keep oppressing and suppressing and putting down. That's why we are here, right? So why should we forget the past when it is the reason as to why we are here? And also those that come to claim, you know, oh, we are all poor, you know, it's the rich against the poor. Why do you want to victimize yourself right now? But when it comes to voting, you still vote your people. Yeah, you still vote privilege. You are not against privilege. You would rather vote privilege instead of rights. And now you are saying even our people were oppressed, even are you sure your people were taken out of their land? Are you sure your people were lynched? Are you sure your women were raped? Are you sure your people were put on breeding camps? Are you sure that there are sundown towns where our people could not even go beyond a certain period of time? We are speaking about the United States of America and then these people are coming in, or even Irish. No, 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 no. Get yourself out of the conversation, especially if it concerns black people, right? Because they are not advocating for you. They are advocating for themselves, and their struggles, they are valid. Some of these administrations, their target is to make sure that black people never rise. It is conversations and debates like this that make you question the slogans that people use. Make America great again. Is America only great when it's only palm-colored people that are prospering? It's great alone when it is them, but then it's not great when others are given equal opportunities. Why don't you want to give other people equal opportunities? Because clearly, if these ladies are literally one of the few people that have stood in the positions they are in, how old is America? And for some of these people that are coming out to say, you know, or, you know, racism was only invented in the 1800s, well, probably it wasn't there, but there was still a marginalized group of people that was the slave, and then you were the master. And so, simply because that emerged out of the in the 1800s, that means that oppression did not happen. There is already a deficit in a way they are treated, in a way that talented people, educated people, experienced people cannot enter in these spaces when others that are less qualified are allowed to enjoy these spaces. They don't have the experience, they don't have half the education that black people have. And we all know that black people have to work twice to be in the positions they get into, even if it is a very small space. Congresswomen have already shown you that this program literally works. It benefits the country. It increases. But then you still want to get rid of it simply because it helps black people, isn't it? Then what would be the logic behind? Because if you're saying it's because it is castigating racism, racism already occurs, discrimination already occurs, inequality is already there. And that's why this program is here. If it wasn't, then it wouldn't be here. And one of the most interesting thing is they would literally question, you know, DEI. They would literally dissolve affirmative action, but they will never touch legacy scholarships. Yeah, they don't want to talk about that. But their people are benefiting. So everybody else should be quiet while yours are benefiting. If it only has to be black people programs that need to be dismantled, but then legacy scholarships, which is majorly palm colored. Basically, most of these schools are 70% palm colored, workspaces 80 to 90% palm colored. So where is the equality here? Because as per this program, it is tailored to bring a bit of equality and inclusion. Where are people going to run to if these programs are scrapped off in case of abuse or, you know, discrimination? Where? I do appreciate the fact that this lady is brave and she is speaking her mind and nobody is going to shut her down. She's gonna give it to you, especially if you come for her people. And that's what we need. Where is the rage of the civil rights movement? Those people had rage, and that's exactly what I see in this amazing lady. That rage, that unquenchable thirst to fight. Because we have been fighters. Do not expect your oppressor to participate in your liberation. Do not. I think I put it in the, in the video. Do not expect them to be the ones that are helping you. That's why any program that is aiming at helping you, they will come for it. We know it's because they are afraid that you will excel them, because you've been always smart. You start from scratch and everything you touch prospers. They brought you in empty fields and you revamped and built them a nation. What do you guys think? Shout out to all the strong black men and women out there that are fighting. And I'm talking about even those that are here on the continent. Put your thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. And I'll see you in another amazing video. Until then, my name is Gracie and I love you. Bye.